Ooh, this will give us time to catch up on evaluation.
Yeah, I think we're just gonna have to use yours, Tim. It says that I don't have permission to record for some reason.
Okay, perfect.
Mm.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. We got a recording? Alright, perfect. Well, just to refresh my mind, how many of you drink at least 3 cups of coffee a week? Raise your hands. Okay, looks like we have a pretty suitable audience for this topic. My speech is going to be on the topic of coffee, where it comes from, the differences between different common drinks you'll find, and the language of coffee. I'm going to start off with origin in an article titled The Caffeinated History of Coffee, an article written by Troy Avey. There was an Ethiopian tale told, which is believed to be the origin of the coffee bean. This tale is about Kaldi, who is a goat herder. Kaldi was doing his regular routine and was watching the goats frolic around, but he noticed they were a little more hypergenic that day. With further investigation, he found that they were consuming these little red berries. And you may be wondering what these little red berries have to do with coffee in any way of any sort. But interestingly enough, a coffee bean is actually a type of cherry. Coffee was not first used in the ways we use it now. It was first combined with animal fat to make nutrient-dense protein bars, and then it was moved to use its pulp and ferment it, and it was used to make wine for a short period of time. And it actually wasn't until the 13th century that we started using the brewing methods we do today. With that little rundown we have of the history of coffee, I'm going to go over the differences that you'll find in the common drinks of the coffee world, which are espresso and drip coffee. Espresso is a highly concentrated form of coffee, which is inserted into a highly pressurized machine, and it's made, and it's a very concentrated form of coffee. Drip coffee is what I'm referring to as something you'll make at home, such as a Keurig or an at-home coffee machine. It's a slower brewing method. In an article published by the Road Coffee Co. in 2021, it is stated that a common misconception is that espresso contains more caffeine than our regular drip coffee, which is actually untrue. The espresso contains 80 milligrams of caffeine per 2 ounces, while drip coffee contains 120 milligrams per 12 ounces. And you may be thinking those measurements are off, but actually 2 ounces of espresso is added to a 12-ounce drink, so it makes it even out. Since it is highly concentrated, it's often diluted with milk or water. Now that we've kind of discussed that, I want to go more into depth about espresso. Espresso is a highly concentrated coffee source, like I mentioned before, and it has highly concentrated flavors. Not that it has more caffeine, like I mentioned before. Espresso is very difficult to handle if you don't know what you're doing. So I'm going to go over the different processes that you need to follow in order to savor the flavors of your espresso shots. To start off, there are different time frames I'm going to go over, which the first one is going to be the length in which your espresso shot should pull. A regular caffeinated espresso shot should pull within 20 to 25 seconds. Any less than that or any more than that is going to cause those flavors to be lost in which you want to find in your espresso shots. Those flavors are often replaced by bitter or burnt tasting coffee. When that is added into your coffee drink, you will often notice that, and it will often set off your day, considering that coffee is usually the start to someone's day or just keeping it going. So in order to avoid that, you're going to make sure that you don't have a dead espresso shot. What I'm referring to as a dead espresso shot, it is stated in an article titled Dead Espresso Shots, published in 2022 by Jeffrey A., that a dead espresso shot is one that the maker has left out for too long. Once the espresso shot has been left out for 30 seconds or more, it starts to oxidize. The oxidization causes the flavors to be lost and those burnt flavors to replace them. In order to avoid this, within 30 seconds, you need to dilute the shot and neutralize it with some sort of milk, alternative milk, or oftentimes coffee shops, if they're making a white chocolate based, that also saves the shot. That also goes into the factor of the caffeine levels. Like I mentioned, the caffeine level won't be affected as much, but there'll still be some loss of caffeine if you don't save the shot in time. Now that we've kind of defined what espresso is and how you should process it, I'm going to go over the different languages that are in the coffee world. Some more common ones you guys probably know are latte, mocha, stuff like that, but just for reference I'm going to go over it just in case. So first, latte. Latte is going to be a whole milk, an alternative milk, just any form of plain milk that's not flavored at all. Mocha is going to be chocolate flavored. It's going to have usually a chocolate milk base, but for our lactose intolerant friends, we can also replace it with our alternative milks and steam it into that, so you can get the same exact flavor as everyone else. A more difficult one that I honestly didn't understand before I went into the coffee field was breve. Breve is made with half and half, which is half whipping cream and half milk. So I was unknowingly ordering this and not thinking of the calories. Once I discovered that, it was quite a shock to me. That is something I will always remember going into my first job. That was a main shock factor that forever will stay with me. After that, I'm gonna go into Americanos. Americanos are a little different than drip coffee, but they are often replaced for drip coffee. Most coffee shops stop brewing our regular drip coffee after 12 o'clock because it is not selling as much. An Americano is simply espresso mixed with water, and it's very similar in taste to drip coffee, but you're not going to get as much caffeine as I mentioned earlier. The last one I want to go into is a cappuccino, which is a more difficult drink to make as a barista, but there's two different types. There's going to be a dry cappuccino, which is going to have more foam, so we're going to steam the milk in order to have the foam on top, and it's going to weigh mainly of just the espresso. It's going to have no liquid in it. With the wet cappuccino, there's going to be more of a liquid consistency in it. It's going to refer more to a latte, but there's still going to be too much foam to refer to it as a simple latte. With that, I hope all of you learned something new about coffee that you didn't know before, and that you can enjoy your morning drink, and honestly just think about how you know a little more than the average person about your cup of joe.
Thank you, Ashley.
How did this